you guys doing? Good?
Really good, thanks.
So, specifically for Uncle Ilan over here, Ilan, I'm also an adult.
You made it.
Don't you want to just maybe introduce yourself? Just give us some context into your life. What do you do? And like who you are.
Hey guys, some of you know me, some of you don't. My name's Elan. As you heard, I'm a father of 2 girls. I'm really appreciative that you let an old guy out at youth tonight. Yeah, it's cool to be here. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. And the 2 of you, do you guys want to tell us what you're doing? What's happening in your life?
So I'm studying sound engineering, and then part-time I'm making music. Yeah.
And then I am now, like David said, I'm officially a teacher. So
Whoop.
yeah, Miss O is ready to do the things. Yeah.
Shaping the next gen.
Yeah, it's been a good time. I'm enjoying it.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So I prepared some questions. And so the topic basically this evening is friendship. It's friends. And this concept of friends, and the whole reason for this topic is actually a conversation I had with one of my cousins. And so I'm busy talking, and so my dad had 3 boys, my aunt had 3 girls, my other aunt had 3 girls, the other one had no children. So there's just the 3 gents here, the men representing here. And so the rest are all girls. And so we're having this discussion basically about their friend groups. And the 2 sisters of the one girl basically say to her, they're like, nah, but you hang out with all the bad girls. And then she looks at us, and I'm expecting her to defend her friends, you know, like you would defend your friends, right? Yeah? I would defend my friends. She's like, yeah, I know they're the bad girls. I'm like, what? So why are you hanging out with them? Why are they the bad girls? And she basically tells me how this friend group is super toxic towards teachers. They're bullying people. It's super toxic. And so I asked her, I'm like, so why do you hang out with these people? And she's like, because I don't know who else I could hang out with. And it was very deep for me because it feels like some people just feel limited to the friends that they know, the people that they already know, and don't feel willing to expand their horizons because it's scary, and it takes boldness. And so the one verse that I want you guys to remember for this evening is from Proverbs 27, verse 17. It says, as iron sharpens iron, so a friend sharpens a friend. It's quite a nice verse. And so the whole context of the verse is your friends are shaping you. Whether you know it or not, they're refining you, they're changing your character, they're changing who you become. And so I want to ask this first question to all of you guys, actually, if that's cool. Who is your oldest friend, and how did you become friends? I'll start over here.
Okay. My oldest friend I've known since I was 10.
Wow.
So I've known him almost 30 years.
Sure.
Yeah. And we met at school. And even through times when we weren't close, not just because of circumstances. He was studying somewhere else, then he started working, and as you become an adult, you lose friends along the way. Not necessarily you want to, but just life changes. But that's the one friend that we've always stayed in contact, that I would say is not an acquaintance, is a friend.
I like that. And just to build on that, you say the nature of your friendship changed. How often do you speak to this guy?
He's a teacher in Kuwait.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So we message maybe. Sometimes it's as scarce as like once every 6 months.
Sure.
And other times it's once a month. But I know that he's my friend, and he knows that I'm his friend, and there's no frills.
There's no, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
For me, I would say the friend that I've known the longest, I've known her since I was 5. So I think we've known each other for about 15 years now. And very similar situation. Life has changed. She moved somewhere else to study. So we don't see each other as much anymore. We probably see each other like every 6 months, I would say, roughly, and maybe message each other every now and again. But she's someone who I know, and regardless of how long it's been since we last saw each other, whenever we sit down and we chat, it's like there's been no time in between us. Like we can just get down. It's like we pick up straight from where we've been, where we left off.
So funny enough, my oldest friend is actually on stage with me, Mr. Jakes himself. And Timon and Caden, I literally met them when I was like maybe 6, 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Actually.
literally I just walked up to Timon and Caden and was like, you guys are going to be my best friends, and that's done. And then since then, we've just been friends. So yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
prophecy, bro. It wasn't a, yeah, it was a prophecy. It was a good one.
I actually think I must make a correction. I think you're actually the friend I've known the
Bro,
longest.
probably actually.
I think there was 3 weeks where he was alive, and then
Guys.
I'm so confused. There's like 3 weeks where he was alive and just doing well, and then I came to the picture, and I think, yeah, we've
Yeah.
been friends ever since. So actually, yeah, I take that back. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay, next question. Very simple. We're going to answer it again. We'll start from Tadi this side. Who is your newest friend, and how did you become friends?
My newest friend is actually Sarah. She's sitting in the crowd there.
Hi,
Sarah.
How did you guys become friends?
Pardon?
How did you become friends?
Literally, I think so. We met in the courtyard, the one service, and then we were just chatting, and then that's how I became
It's that
friends with
simple,
her.
yeah. It's that
Yeah,
Mates
that's
in the
simple,
courtyard,
yeah.
bro. Mates in the-
I would say it's a girl named Jenna. She and I joined a life group together very recently. Yeah.
Nice. For you?
Yeah, my newest friend is I've known for about 2 years, probably. And I met him at church. He's a married guy, but he's older than me, like
Okay.
10 years older than me. But what's cool is that he's in a different stage, kind of the stage I'm looking towards. And so it's nice to be friends with somebody who's already walked a road that I'm going to walk, so I can get some ideas and tips and stuff
Yeah,
like
I
that.
love
Yeah.
I've also found that in my own life. Like, I've really enjoyed having older friends, and I would also encourage you guys to get some older friends. Just because they've been where you're going, especially someone, I mean, for you, 10 years is a good gap, but for us, maybe like 3 to 5 years is a good
Yeah,
gap, you
yeah.
know, because it's right there in the changes of life there. And just for interest's sake, how often do you speak to that friend?
Twice a week.
Yeah, pretty similar, yeah.
Whenever I'm at youth.
Nice. Be honest, we
So
love
like
it.
once a week, bro.
Take the honesty, come
So like
on.
once a week at least. Yeah, I find that very interesting, and I've also noticed that in my own friendships, is that the people I've got deeper and longer relationships with, I find myself spending less time with, because the relationship is more stable.
Yeah.
It's not so up and down, it's not so variable. I know that this person is my friend, that's what you said as well earlier. You're like, I know he's my friend, there's no frills, like, why would that change? Unless all of a sudden you start becoming a Satan worshiper, then we can talk about it. But there's no reason to change that. And the people that are your new friend, you're more intentional to spend time with because you have to develop that
Yeah,
relationship. Cool. So then this is the third question. What is one thing that helped you maintain healthy friendships with people of the opposite sex? Shall we go just for Sarah and Ilan? You guys want to answer that question?
Sure. For me, I've had to just put in certain boundaries. So one very set one that I have is I don't talk to guys late at night. I just know the later night gets, the more tired I get, the more emotional I get. And so for me, I just know I'm not always in my best frame of mind late at night. Like 2, 3 o'clock, hey, my brain is tired. And so I'm more susceptible to things that they'll say to me or that I'll say to them. So by 10 o'clock, I say good night to my guy friends. Regardless of where we stand, I always just say, okay, cool, good night. Because I just found I've put myself in not so healthy lines. I'm always like blurred or cause confusion with people because I've been talking to them later at night. So, yeah.
Hey, if they message you after midnight, red flags, bro. That's all that message is. It's just red flags, bro.
Straight up.
no.
Yeah.
For you?
I think that's very good advice, Sarah. I think what's good for, it's easy to say create boundaries, but what does that look like practically? And I think with the opposite sex, it's physical touch is a good one. You know, don't be touching on other people unnecessarily. You know, you're going to hold your girlfriend's hand, but I won't come to Sarah and I can do this because you're all here, but you know, like, hey Sarah, how are you?
Where's the red flag? I think we need
there's a red
prop
flag. And the second thing is, you said it in a virtual space, like on your cell phone, but don't put yourself in spaces where it's only 2 people.
Yeah.
I can say this from personal experience. I once met a girl, it was a safe space, it was like a church meeting at my family's home, and they had invited some people, and I was like in matric, and these guests brought their daughter who was like in standard 8, and this...
That's grade 10, eh? That's grade 10.
Yeah, sorry. Old guy talk, grade 10. And then this girl like cottoned onto me, but there were no other young people there, and I didn't want to, you know, my parents are doing their thing with their friends, so... and this girl got this like super crush on me. No, I'm serious.
Ew.
I'm talking the days of SMS, eh? Like there wasn't WhatsApp, not even Blueberry, Blackberry stuff. Like this is way before that. I'm talking green screen, Nokia 3310 days.
Okay.
And
good
I
on
gave
Nokia.
this girl my number, and that was a mistake. And then in this whole conversation, it turned out I knew her. I knew somebody that she knew, and I said something about this person. And then when she felt scorned by me, then she, I got into so much trouble because then she went and said bad things about me. So don't get yourself in spaces where there aren't other people with you. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and I think it probably sounds weird to hear how you need to have boundaries within friendships, and how you should rather just have them in relationships, but friendship is a kind of relationship, and it's literally there just to make sure that you're respecting the other person as well, because you don't know what you're doing could be causing confusion for them, could be making them think that the nature or the role that you play in their life is different to what you think you're portraying to them.
Sure.
And so boundaries they're really important, and I think especially the physical ones, like holding your best friend who's a girl, holding her hand when you're a guy, like that can confuse things really quickly.
Yeah.
You're actually not being fair to them or to yourself. You're not respecting them or yourself by not putting that boundary in place of not having that physical boundary there.
And I think that's really deep. Just on you mentioning that holding hands thing, that was, just for all the girls out there, that was my move, when I was in high school.
It always is.
There was
it
a
always
pretty
is.
girl that I really liked, and I was like, let's just be friends. She was taller than me even. It was like, your boy's got confidence,
Yeah.
And every day at break, we used to hang out and like talk. And then the one break, I just held her hand. And then every break, we were holding hands. And then every break between classes, we're seeing each other. And then we're hugging each other here. And then now after school, we're hanging out.
Jacob.
And eventually, she became my girlfriend. You know what I'm saying?
I'm telling you, it is. It's always the goal. Yeah.
But
Hey, don't be clapping for that. Wait a minute. Hold on. I don't know if I raped that.
But that was because my intention was not to be friends with her. My intention was to have something more.
Yeah.
And so I crossed those boundaries, and I basically pushed the line.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see, okay, what's going to happen if I do this? What's going to happen if I do that? And I changed what she viewed me, just as a friend, into a romantic partner, and that relationship did not end well.
It did not.
That was actually my first kiss. But yeah, physical touch. It's a really good boundary, man. Okay, shall we take a look at the next question? The next question is this. I'm going to ask you for Tadi. What kind of an impact do you think your friends have had in shaping your life choices, past and present, and character?
Okay, so my friends are actually pretty awesome. I have to say that because each and every one of them have taught me how to, first of all, control my emotions in a situation where, because I am a very sensitive person, if you didn't know that, I'm extremely sensitive. And when something happens and I can't really control the situation, I get very angry and I just go off on people. And I'm going to shout him out, Henry. Henry's actually one of the people who's been in that situation and has taught me to be careful about what I say, because there's power in the tongue. It even says that in the Bible. So be careful what you say within your friendships, because it will impact what your friendships are in the future. But then also my friends are super generous. They all live a very generous lifestyle. I've never had to ask for anything from them. They've just always been willing to give. And that's something I encourage you guys to do. Look at your friends and create a generous lifestyle within each other, because it will teach you to be generous within the house yourself. But how they've impacted me, they've done a lot. They've just always been in my corner, and because of that, I've learned to be emotionally available for other people and to just care for them, and also just to be a good friend, just to listen. People, you need to listen to your friends, because in a very critical moment in life, they might be saying something and you might realize, wait, damn, they said that, I must remember that, because it's a conversation that could lead to helping them out with the situation. So always listen to your friends. Yep.
And just because I know some of your life story, you didn't always have such good, wholesome, healthy friends.
Yes, that's
that are
true.
giving you this good character. How do you think okay, and I did disclose this to you guys, and I'm going to say it to you guys. I don't like the term bad friends, okay? Because I myself was a bad friend. And so I don't like that term. I prefer the term lost people. Because basically what it is two guys with blindfolds trying to lead each other out of the dark. It doesn't work. It's not possible. And so when I say bad friends, I'm talking about lost people. They're not a bad person. They just were maybe making some bad decisions. And how do you think those kinds of friendships affected your choices? And where are those kinds of friendships now?
Well, those friendships have ended for sure.
They've ended, all of them?
Yeah, I've ended all of them, yeah.
Wow.
Well done.
The choices that I made within those friendships were not particularly great. There were a lot of things that impacted me still today. Unfortunately, I'm still dealing with them, but obviously I'm going for counseling, I'm going for therapy. But within those friendships, they really took a lot out of me. And for someone like me, I hold on to friendships, like I hold on to them for as long as I can because I struggle to let people go. So in that moment, when they were impacting me and I was making very bad decisions, I wasn't actually coming to church, I wasn't actually being a very good son, I was just being rebellious consistently. But when I cut those friendships out of my life, I had an opportunity to sit down and reflect and think back on what I can do better. And because of that, I've been able to choose a very good group of friends. I don't know if you guys have watched The Message by Craig Groeschel. There's such a thing called inner circle and outer circle. Those people in your inner circle are the most important people in your life. And those are the people who are going to practically help you in where you're going to go in life. And they're going to be the people who are cheering you on in your toughest moments. Your outer circle are people who, they're your acquaintances and you see them once in a while. You must just be careful of who you let in. That's not my number one thing that I would say about bad friends and bad influences. You must be very careful of what environments you even place yourself in as well. So, yeah.
And just for interest sake, what was the turning point? What made you say that I can't be with these guys anymore? What made you say I can't be friends with them anymore?
It was just the way how they made me feel. Because it was a weird dynamic where I was trying so hard to get their approval. And when you're doing that, you're always pouring, and not really getting anything back. And to a point where it affected me emotionally, mentally, and I just went into a space where I closed myself off from my family, and I had a situation where I just felt so depressed. I'm going to speak about it openly, if it's okay. It was 3 attempts on my own life because of those friendships, because I just didn't feel like people loved me. I didn't feel like people appreciated me.
Sure.
But because of the people that I let into my life, the good ones, they were there to pick me up and say, you're okay, we're going to be here with you, and we're going to walk with you throughout that situation. So, yeah.
And I just want to build on that point, is that if there's a toxic relationship or a bad friend, or you are the bad friend, there's going to come a tipping point where it's actually enough now. I can't do this. We're not even in the same high school anymore. I don't see you. Why am I intentional to make plans to see you anymore? I don't feel good. I don't feel loved. I don't feel appreciated. I'm feeling downtrodden. And the other thing I wanted to add on to this is that those friendships can circle back. So I found myself in a similar season to you also, where I was part of the bad friend group, and it came to a tipping point, the same thing, where I evaluated what we were doing and how we hang out and who we are to each other, and I was like, this is not what I want for my life. And for a season, I didn't see those people at all, until I felt I was strong enough to see them again, because now I had good friends, I had good family, I had people, I had structures in place to help me be strong. And then what I did is I initiated the relationship on my terms. I invited those people to church. And some of them are in this church today. Like currently they come to church on Sundays. And for a season we had to separate, because the energy we brought to each other was actually toxic in nature. It didn't allow us to grow. It actually just broke us down and hindered our growth. And so we came to a realization that we have to separate and reestablish the relationship on new terms, with a new foundation. Instead of being focused on going out to drink, now we focus on coming to church on Sundays in the morning and then hanging out and having coffee or whatever the vibes are. And so I want to encourage some of you guys out there, if you feel like you're in a bad friendship, it doesn't mean you're never going to be their friend ever again. You might just have to reinitiate the relationship on new terms if you want. Oh my God, seems like you don't want. Okay, cool. Cool.
Can I add something there
Of course,
quickly?
of course.
I think self-worth is very important. Because sometimes we're friends with people because we feel that our worth is matched to theirs. And if they're lost people, sometimes we associate with them because we feel lost. We feel we're a bad person, if I can say it that way. So we say, no, these are the only friends that I'm worth hanging around. And you are worth far more than that.
Wow. Claim that for yourself, guys. Say, I'm worth far more than that. Are you going to say it with me?
Yeah, do that.
3, 2, 1.
I'm worth far more than that.
I like that. That was a line
Can
right
I
there. That was
add to that as
yeah.
well? I also want to just speak into the space of letting go of friends in those seasons, because it's a hard space. It's not an easy space. Especially if they've been people you've been friends with for a really long time. You kind of feel like you owe it to them for the length of the friendship that you've had, that you should still be friends with them. But you really need to evaluate. A good friend is someone who brings the best out of you. That means that they're able to call you out when you're not doing something that you should be, but they do it in a loving way, and they naturally bring out the best in you, right? So if you're surrounded by people who aren't bringing out the best in you, if you're stepping into a space where you're constantly like gossiping about people, or you're making jokes about people, you're disrespecting people, they're not bringing the best out of you if they're encouraging you to do those things. So you do need to let them go, but that process is really difficult. Like, we don't want to just gloss over. I feel like sometimes we're like, yeah, you need to let go of your friends, but we don't bring in and speak about the fact that it is hard, it is really difficult to do that, but you need to do that, because then you open up the space for the right kind of people to come into your life, for you to be the right kind of person in someone else's life. So sometimes that distance is necessary, even though it's really hard. Yeah.
That's exactly what happens. You create space. All of a sudden, you don't have a friend that's been here with you all the time, and you're like, okay, I can speak to new people. I can make a new friend. I really like that. That's a really good point. I think this is the last or second last of our questions. Have you ever lost any close friends? Yeah? All of you? Any of you? All of you. Okay. And how did that make you feel? How did it impact your life? Before I actually say how did it make you feel, do you mind sharing, if you're comfortable, why you stopped being friends with that close friend? Anyone, two of you.
I'm older. Some of them died.
Wow. Wow.
No, but
Sorry.
sadly associated to
Sorry,
that is I lost a good friend. He wanted to go down a path that I wasn't prepared to go down. So when I was in my 20s, I was gymming big time, like 6 days a week. And my friend, he was a prop for Pirates rugby team. He was a big guy. And then he was also training hard at the time. And then he said, you know, let's take steroids. I'm not joking. This sounds like a fake story. And I said to him, no, I'm not going to do that. I said to him, I promised my wife that I will not put my family in danger by doing this. And and that moment, I can frame that moment as the downfall of our friendship. There wasn't a decision where we told each other off, we're never going to see each other. We did see each other thereafter, but the friendship just naturally waned, and then he died because of steroids. And it's sad that I couldn't pull him over to my side, but at the same time, I'm glad for my family that I didn't walk down that road. Yeah.
Any one of you guys?
Yeah, so similar situation to Ilan, but in the context where obviously he was around the wrong people, but he was one of my close friends. And we were doing things, we were playing with drugs and stuff like that, and it wasn't a good space. And obviously me knowing myself, I was like, okay, this is actually not good for me. I need to step away from it. And he continued, and unfortunately he died of an overdose. And I wish I could have been there to be like, bro, like, we need to get out of this together, because this is unhealthy for both of us. And I'm just, it's one of those things that you just think about a lot. But I encourage you guys, appreciate the friends that you have every single day, because you don't know how much time you have left. Yeah. Sorry to be sad. No, sorry guys.
No, thank you both for sharing. It's really like thank you for sharing. It's important to hear these things. Yeah, it was actually really for me. It was like I found it like so funny when Jacob asked me to be a part of a friendship panel because friendships has not been easy for me. It's been something I've really struggled with for like a huge part of my life. I've lost many friends actually. A lot of the times the reason was that I thought we were closer than they thought that we were.
Sure.
So oftentimes they pulled back, and it was really hard for me because I didn't understand why I wasn't the friend that they needed in that season. That's what's happened actually very recently. I had a friend pull back. She just openly said that she felt like I wasn't giving into that space in the way that she needed to in that moment. And that was a really hard thing to hear because I felt like I was. But yeah, so losing friends, it's not fun, it's not easy. But I've also found like I start to understand a lot more about yourself in the lonely seasons, and that helps you be a better friend when you step into a space where you have more friendships. And it's also okay if you don't always have 50 friends. Sometimes it's also really cool if you just have 2 friends because that means you're able to be the best that you can for them in that season. Yeah.
Just out of interest sake, I noticed with you and with Tadi, when your friendships ended, it sort of just fizzled out naturally on its own. And I found that's how it is also with me, with any friendships that I had. It wasn't like a discussion where we ended things. But you're saying that you did have a discussion. Is that just like a guy-girl thing? Is that just like a guy-girl thing? Wow.
Probably, although I
Interesting
will be
thought.
honest, I think that's happened as I've gotten older. When I was
Is it?
younger, they did kind of just fizzle out. A lot of the time was because I stopped initiating like times for us to hang out. And then they just never contacted me, and so it just fizzled out. But as I've gotten a bit older, I have found, we've had discussions about it. It's been
Intentional
interesting.
discussions. Okay, sorry, that was just interesting for me.
No, I think it's valid. My wife's not here, but she's recently gone through like losing a friend, and she still struggles with it emotionally. And what she'd really like to do is to actually talk it out with this person and understand what's gone on. But I think it is slightly different with guys. I think we process emotions differently. And we're able to end things off without having to have so much mental discussion, processing. Yeah.
It's more internal. It just happens here and then it's done.
It's like ESCOM, you just flick the switch.
And then it's over. Wow. Okay, and this is the last question here. What kind of an impact do you think your friendship have had on your attitudes toward life and your mental health?
Very healthy. My friendships have been nothing but life-giving. Most of my friends actually come to church, so that's well, actually, most of my friends are just people from church. Because I went through a season where most of my friends were from high school, and then I had to decide like, who am I keeping, who am I letting go? And for me, being able to come to this space and seeing people, well, I don't come to this space, I go to West, but still being able to come here, it's always very life-giving because people are always just like, oh man, I haven't seen you in a while, let's catch up quickly. And it's just, it feels like I'm actually really loved, but at the same time, I think so that's just how the house of God is really. How people are just always very open and ready to have a conversation with you, and just ready to speak to you, and just ready to be there for you, and pray on your behalf. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, friendships has not been easy for me. So I would definitely say it's affected my mental health in a lot of different spaces, made me very anxious in like social spaces and things like that. But I'm working through that, and it's made me be a lot more intentional about the kind of people I let into my inner circle nowadays, because the friends I have now are helping me be confident in those spaces, are helping me see the value in having people who are there for you in the good seasons, the bad seasons, when they're going through a bad season and you're going through a bad season, because that happens sometimes, and sometimes people pull away. But it's made me really be intentional as well, and reflecting on how can I be a good friend to people. So I would say it's something that I'm so grateful for. I'm very grateful for the people that I have in my life right now.
I choose to hang out with people who make me want to be a better person. And people who encourage me to go further in life, to walk deeper with God, to look deeper in business, to do better with my kids. I don't hang out with people who don't add value to my life. Full stop.
I like that. No, I like that a lot. And this is one thing I've said this a couple of times before. To be attractive doesn't mean to look like a hot person. It means to be the best version of yourself. That is what is attractive. And if your friends are refining you into the best version of yourself, you're becoming attractive to people. You're married, right? You got kids, right? Yeah, you did a good job. Just be the best version of yourself, and maybe your friends are not making you a bad version, but they're just stunting the current version. It's just the same conversations, the same kind of thought patterns, the same kind of whatever it is, routine that we get into, and there's no actual growth here. Yeah, I really like that, man. Attitude. It's a good attitude. Do you guys mind if we just conclude this by praying? Praying into friendships and relationships. And before I do that, do you have any final words of advice or closing comments for the guys here about their friendships?
Recently, I was talking to someone getting advice about friendships, and she said this to me, that there are two kinds of friends. There are hype friends and there are real friends. Hype friends are there with you in the moment. They're happy when you're happy, they're sad when you're sad, but when stuff gets difficult, they often don't stick around. Real friends are people who are happy when you're happy, they're sad when they're sad, and when stuff gets difficult, they stick around. Those are the kind of people you want there. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't have people in your life who are hype friends. It's good to have hype friends. You need that energy around you. You need them to be like building up and encouraging you, but it's important that you make sure that you have at least one or two real friends who, when you go through something, you know that they're going to be there, because we're called to share each other's burdens.
And just to flip that, be a real friend to someone. Can't go out there looking for the best real friend who's going to listen to everything I say. That time you're the only one talking. You have to be a real friend to someone. Yeah, I like that.
I'd say make sure you find a group of friends that are willing to pray with you, read the word with you, and also come to church with you. Like, church is better with friends.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
I think as somebody who's worked long roads of different friendships, if I can say this to you, if you can count 5 people on your hands, if you can count 5 real friends, you've got a lot of friends. If you got more than that, I'm telling you, some of those are acquaintances, they're not real friends.
Sure.
So if you got 1 or 2 people that are real friends, count that like as joy and hold on to them and look after those friendships. You don't need 20 people that say they're your friends. You need 2 or 5 people that you know are your friends. I've got 5 people probably I can phone tonight and say, can you come to my house? I've got an emergency. And literally I can think it is literally 5. Okay, they're married, so it's families. That, you know, you could count that as 10. But but boundaries, I don't phone their wives. There's 5 guys, I can phone them now and say, come to my house. Yeah.
Come to my house. Awesome. I'm going to pray for us quick. Dear Father God, I thank you so much for being in our discussion. I thank you so much for everything we've spoken about here. And I just pray that you will help us to develop meaningful friendships, dear Father God. Help us to be a true friend to other people and help us to identify the true friends that are in our lives, dear Father God. I pray that as we go through different seasons and changing and tipping points, dear Father God, as we move out of schools or maybe change schools, whatever it is, I pray that you will help us to attract like-minded people. Help us to attract the friends that you want in our lives and help us to work on those friendships and work on who we are as a friend. Amen. Awesome. Thank you guys very much, eh? Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.